Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for April 2nd, 2019. Q's up almost 0.5%, 0.46, and the SPY up just a little bit. Had actually spent most of the day negative, but now back up, just up over 0.12% there. We have about 10 minutes left, so Q's and SPY both up a little bit, continuing the move higher, right? If you recall, coming into today, expecting that pullbacks are buyable, okay? Because we ended that little bit of a downtrend we had last week. Notice that we put in a higher low, and then we got the gap up. After we shifted out of the bearish bias, we got a gap up the next day. That put us bullish, and then we've been bullish since. So market continuing higher. Pretty much the same thing as today. The expectation is that we are bullish on all time frames. We're still extended on the hourly, so pullbacks are better buying opportunities as opposed to breakouts. Okay, so pullback would be the better opportunity to enter the market, but the bias remains bullish. So neutral to bullish going into tomorrow. Now, I just wanted to bring your attention to this one aspect of not only today, but even the last few days, that the ranges on most of these days has continued to be small. And so even though, right, maybe on the intraday, you can see the oscillation on the intraday here, we're really not moving much, okay? So on days like today, it's very easy to get chopped up either in the market or on individual names. So the thing that I talked about yesterday was really trying to stay picky and sometimes have to be patient. Okay, so when we take a look at a couple of today's plays, right, that was very much a part of what was necessary. Okay, so let's start with the DAL this morning. And since I got to do the open for the room this morning, where I got to give you my take on the gap as we go over every gap in the morning prior to the open. Now, on the DAL, we were gapping up, right? We're going from one side of the 200 to the other, which is typically a bullish event. But we were coming from a series of green bars. Now, I made it clear that this is not a novice gap. We aren't extended away from the 20 MA, and we don't have wide range bars. So the plan for this was we're not going to go for it aggressively at the open. Okay, we don't want to play like a 1 minute high low or immediate breakout. Let it pull back, give us an entry, and then we'll play it on the pullback. Okay, so based on that expectation for the DAL, right? See, it's one thing to say, okay, I'm bullish on the DAL, but how do I know that we shouldn't play this entry here over this high, right? And for some, you play this, that may be enough for you on that 20-30 cent pop to get some out. But that's not really the play I'm looking for, right? Just a single pop and be out. You know, on stuff like that, if that's all you're looking for, these little quick moves, it's very easy for, you know, those to quickly turn into losers, either on the back half or the whole thing if you're not fast enough. It's tough, and it's not generally what I look for, is that these quick little one pop, one move. I'm trying to get in the direction of something that's going to move all day. That's not going to put in one green bar in my favor or 1 minute of rallying, but hours of rallying. If it allows me to stay in it, right? Like in the MLCO yesterday, right? We were in it all the way from prior to lunch, right? On this breakout, we got in it here around almost 11, right? And then in it until it proved that, okay, the uptrend was over a few hours later. So when I'm looking to get in something, I'm looking for, you know, multi-bar moves and hopefully multi-hour moves if I can stay in it. So, all right, let's go back to this DAL. So like I said, the plan on this was not to play it at the open because gapping too far doesn't have shock value. This is a bullish gap, but maybe not with the utmost urgency. Okay, so we let it pull back, all right? And then once we establish this base here, over this breakout, right? So I think I saw it just in time to give it to the room. And it was even maybe a little bit late. I think it was already like 46 or so, and it actually triggered a little bit prior to that. So the entry really should have been over 38. So yeah, it was like a few cents late. Okay, and then targets, one high of the day, which you got there pretty quickly, and then it based. And I went over this too with the room, that if you're in this, even though this kind of basing can make you a little bit concerned that it's going to come in, that resistance is in the way, it's actually what you want to see if you want to see this uptrend continue, because it gets to rest and it gets to get all of that overhead supply, some of the doubters, the weak hands, to start to doubt their position, and maybe they do get out. Maybe some got out there and some got out there, and then they realize, oh yeah, I either have to get back in or I'm going to miss the next move, or maybe some shorts got in aggressively thinking that this was the top, and then they have to cover. So that kind of rest allows the move to continue and not get ahead of itself. Okay, so like this kind of move, right, which is maybe covers most of the morning here, right? Yeah, until we go to lunch, right? These are the uptrends that I'm trying to get in. Now, how do I know if that's going to do that? I don't always know, but I at least have a better chance of that happening if I'm playing something that's gapping, right? Or in this case, has news. And that was the case for the WBA as well. And the WBA had a very similar kind of read on it, is that we're going to go with the gap. We're going to play in the direction of the gap, but it's gapping a little bit too far. So how do we estimate whether it's too far or not? What I do is I look at the area that I need to gap to. So what would have been the perfect gap down for me to want to play this? Just under support. So under 59.30, right? I think that would have been perfect. That would have been number one gap for the open. But instead, right, we're opening here. So we're opening actually at 55.84. Okay, so about $3.50 too far. Okay, so on a given average day for this WBA, right, might do $1.50. So we're gapping 2 days worth of trading further than we needed, not from the close, but further from where support was, or the support that I would like to see broken. You can also use a percentage if it's gapping 15% or more from where it needed to gap to, right? That's going to be gapping too far. And then what you want to do is just let that opening kind of back and forth, let it go, right? So again, right, how do we know not to be in it on this opening sell setup, or like a 1 minute break? Because I think the 1 minute did have an entry, and not have to take a stop on this rally, right? It's a very similar read to the DAL. DAL lacking the shock value, and WBA gapping too far, right? So then wait for it to set up. So now finally later on, right, we in this smaller time frame uptrend, we start to base at the highs, right? And then this was an official call from Sammy in the afternoon, right, to play this once we broke down 20 MA, caught up, and play it back down to the lows. So I think the entry was under 55.59 or 55.60 or so. So it triggered there, and then a nice bit of follow through there. Okay, so there's a lot of different things to focus on every day, and there's of course a lot of different strategies and approaches. For me, through these next couple weeks, it's really to try and make each shot count, not to kind of churn and over trade, right? And because the opportunities for follow through that I see are just not of the same quality that we had even 2 weeks ago. Okay, so I thought these were some of the most sound plays, not necessarily that they all took off and went crazy, but just because that's what fits the strategy, that's what fit what we called for ahead of time prior to the open, and what we'll continue to focus on over the next couple weeks. All right, So I hope you did well today. It was a pretty, I would say, uneventful day for the Qs and the SPY. You can see even not that much participation based on today's daily volume. So it doesn't really change much. We're going to go into tomorrow with the same bias that we had today. Okay, and then also with the same kind of level of aggressiveness that we want to maintain until we start to get lots of good gaps, and we can start to really put on a lot more trades. All right, so hope you did well today. If not, we'll be back at it tomorrow. We'll see what the market brings us, and I will talk to you then. All right, have a great evening.